News now at this hour begins with update on the U.S. elections, where Donald Trump has delivered a victory speech at the Palm Beach County Convention Center in Florida as he emerged the winner of the presidential elections after beating Kamala Harris in a stunning White House comeback. In his address, he called for national unity, urging the American people to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind them. Trump was joined by his family as he celebrated the moment with supporters who chanted USA.
This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try, we have to try, and it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world.
Meanwhile, world leaders have begun to react to the election of Donald Trump, as the 47th U.S. president. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Wednesday congratulated Trump and urged continued close transatlantic ties, saying they are better off together. Similarly, Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba says he wants to take his country's alliance with the U.S. to new heights after Donald Trump claimed victory in the U.S. presidential election. Meanwhile, Sweden's Prime Minister says that Donald Trump's election as U.S. president could mean less aid for Ukraine in its war against Russia. Ulf Kristersson also fears a return to economic protectionism in the United States, a major risk for a country like Sweden, which is highly dependent on its exports.
Von der transatlantischen Partnerschaft profitieren beide Seiten. Die EU und die USA sind zwei ähnlich große Wirtschaftsräume, verbunden durch die engsten wirtschaftlichen Beziehungen weltweit. Deutschland und die Vereinigten Staaten sind sich in einer über Jahrzehnte gewachsenen Partnerschaft, ja Freundschaft verbunden. Unsere menschlichen Verbindungen in die USA sind enger als in jedes andere Land außerhalb Europas. Millionen amerikanische Bürger haben deutsche Wurzeln. Und deshalb gilt, we are better off together. Gemeinsam können wir viel mehr durchsetzen als gegeneinander.
トランプ氏の勝利宣言を聞きました。連携を密にしながら日米同盟、日米関係、これをさらなる高みに引き上げてまいりたいと考えております。今後、トランプ氏と接点を早急に持つべく。
And to talk more on this, we're joined by News Central's international correspondent, Ifeanyi, who has been monitoring the U.S. elections. Ifeanyi, good evening. Well, here in Lagos, good evening to you. So please let me start by asking you what the mood is and how the people are reacting to Donald Trump's victory in the just concluded presidential election.
Well, yes, here in Washington, D.C., it's lunchtime, so people still kind of digesting the news that Donald Trump is or has been elected for a second term as president. Here with me, I have James, who is a Trump supporter. Now, James, tell me, how are you feeling today?
Pretty happy. I was cautiously optimistic this morning, not sure how things would turn out, but as the day's gone and the results have really been solidified, I'm super happy. I couldn't be happier.
So what is it about Trump, the Trump campaign, about the Republicans that made you vote for him?
It's not so much Trump. I'd have to say that the fault or the credit for this goes equally to the Democratic Party as it does to Donald Trump. The Democratic Party has become so disingenuous and manipulative when it comes to minority groups and their best interests and what they want for the future of this country that we're desperate for an alternative, and Donald Trump happened to be that alternative this year. I think Donald Trump was served by the benefit of having already done it once before, you know, the sky didn't fall and the theater wasn't exactly on fire last time. So I think that hindsight did a lot to help Donald Trump this time around.
What do you think it is about the Harris-Walz campaign that didn't necessarily cut through? I mean, it didn't appeal to you quite clearly. So what do you think it is about that campaign that didn't appeal to other people as well?
Kamala Harris has never been appealing. I came into my own in politics in California, where she's been an established figure for some years, and we all know how she got where she got, and there's news articles of it from California Contemporary at the time that say she may have slept her way to the top. So that doesn't ring true to women who work their way to the top, the people who she claims to represent, who have fought to get where we're at, and someone who can come in and use their I know she claims to be from the middle class. She comes from a very wealthy background, so she's just been very disingenuous with the people, and I feel like really the way she's tailored this message, she felt like she was entitled to the votes of certain demographics, and that's just not how politics work.
Trump throughout his campaign has been quite controversial, has said some quite controversial, sometimes derogatory things. How do you reconcile that with voting for him?
I think we made a mistake in American politics over the last few years of thinking that the presidency is supposed to be a popularity contest, or that it's some high school yearbook superlative. It's a job with a very distinct job description, and I don't care if the president is someone that I would look up to or a role model for my children. I want him to be able to do the job and do it well, and me be able to sleep well at night knowing that that's happening. And I feel like Donald Trump has that, whereas Kamala Harris, I saw what happened with, I'm an Army veteran myself, and when I saw the withdrawal from Afghanistan, how they just absolutely botched that, 20 years in the making, and you couldn't get that right, and you want us to trust you with what you've basically led us into a third world war now. No, absolutely not.
Trump said in his speech earlier on, in the early hours of this morning, that he wants to unify the country. Is that possible?
It is. I think that it is. I think that that's going to require a little bit of give and take on his side and the media's side. I know back when he first ran, the media never gave him a chance to get in and do the job and do it well before raking him across the coals. And then he can't let anything go. He feels the need to respond to every little thing. And it becomes like a self-fulfilling cycle. I feel like if Donald Trump, if the media would leave him alone, let him do his job, hold him accountable when he screws up like anybody else, but maybe not be quite so hyperbolic in your rhetoric, and he can feel less of a need to lash out all the time. So I feel like if the media would shut the hell up and let him do his job, and if Donald Trump would shut the hell up and do his job, I think everything would be a lot better.
Thank you, James, for talking to us.
So much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Really interesting to hear there the opinions of someone who voted for Donald Trump, who isn't necessarily a huge Republican fan, but is a fan of Trump. And there is lots of people around feeling that same way. But don't get me wrong, there's lots of people who are feeling the opposite as well. Very much mixed feelings here today in Washington, D.C.
Well, it is mixed feelings here in Lagos as well, as that has become the conversation on desks and water coolers around Nigeria. But thank you very much, Afia. Moving on now, President Bola Tinubu has extended his congratulations to Donald Trump on his re-election as the 47th President of the United States. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor of Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, President Tinubu expressed optimism about deepening ties between Nigeria and the United States. Tinubu emphasized that Trump's victory demonstrates the trust and confidence Americans placed in his leadership, applauding the commitment of the U.S. to democratic values. Reflecting on Trump's previous experience as the 45th president, President Tinubu expressed confidence that Trump's return to office would foster a new era of productive, mutually beneficial economic and development partnership between Africa and the United States. And now away from the U.S. election and back to stories from Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has ordered the rescheduling of the Federal Executive Council meeting following the demise of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. The president noted that a new date for the meeting will be announced later. The FEC meeting was initially scheduled for today, that's Wednesday, but had to be postponed in honor of late Lagbaja, who passed away on Tuesday night. General Lagbaja served as the Chief of Army Staff from June 19, 2023, till his death on November 5, 2024. Bayo Onanuga, special advisor to the president on information and strategy, in a statement said President Tinubu has also ordered flags to be flown at half-mast nationwide for 7 days in honor of the departed general. And now, recall that there had been speculations about the whereabouts of Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja when President Tinubu announced the appointment of Major General Olufemi Olatubosun Oluyede as the acting chief of Army Staff on October 30th. Special advisor to the President on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, made the official announcement of Lagbaja's demise on his X handle at about 9:15 a.m. on November 6th. News Central's Bernard Akede gives us a brief history about the life and times of the late general.
Born 28 February 1968, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja was the Chief of Army Staff of Nigeria. He was appointed on 19 June 2023 by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to succeed Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya. Lagbaja, who hailed from Osun State, was admitted into the Nigerian Defense Academy in the year 1987 as a member of the 39th Regular Course. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant on 19 September 1992 into the Nigerian Infantry Corps. Between 1992 and 1995, Lagbaja was platoon commander of the 93 Battalion. From 1995 to 2001, he was platoon commander of 72 Special Forces Battalion. In 2001, Lagbaja obtained the bachelor's degree in geography from the Nigerian Defense Academy. He studied strategic studies at the U.S. Army War College at the master's level. In 2009, he became Deputy Chief of Staff G1 at Headquarters 81 Division, and subsequently he became Commanding Officer at 72 Special Forces Battalion, Makurdi, from 2012 to 2013 and from 2014 to 2015. In 2016, Lagbaja was named the Chief of Staff at Headquarters 8 Task Force Division, Mongunu. He served as Director of Operations at the Army Headquarters Department of Army Training and Operations from January to December 2018. He was a commander of Headquarters 9 Brigade in Ikeja, Lagos, and Headquarters 2 Brigade, Uyo, Akwa Ibom States. Before his new appointment, Lagbaja was General Officer commanding Headquarters 82 Division from March 2021 to August 2022 and Headquarters 1 Division from August 2022 to June 2023. Earlier in 2008, he attended the Military Observers Course on Peacekeeping Wing at the Nigerian Army School of Infantry, Jaji, and ECOWAS Standby Force Battalion Command Post Course, Peacekeeping Center, Bamako, Mali. Before his unfortunate passing, Lieutenant General Lagbaja participated in several key operations, including Operation Harmony 4 in Bakassi Peninsula, United Nations Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Operations Zaki, Internal Security Operations in Benue State, Operation Lafia Dole, Operation Mesa, Operation Udoka, Internal Security Operations in Southeast Nigeria, and Operation Forest Sanity, Internal Security Operations in Kaduna and Niger States, amongst others. Lagbaja was married to Maria Abiodun Lagbaja, and the marriage was blessed with 2 children. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Solidarity for Freedom groups demand release of all end bad governance protesters. That's what we're about to tell you about now. The End Bad Governance movement in Lagos has urged President Tinubu to withdraw charges against all protesters currently detained on trial, including Adaramoye Michael Lenin and 10 others whose trial for treason is scheduled to commence at the Federal High Court in Abuja on Friday. This call comes after the release of 114 detained protesters, including minors, on Tuesday, November 5th. The movement noted that the charges against those released and the 11 others still incarcerated are broadly similar and, as such, demands the release of the remaining detainees and a public apology, amongst other demands. To underscore their demands, the movement has declared Friday, November 8th, which coincides with the treason trial of 11 protesters, as a day for a peaceful solidarity rally demanding their freedom.
All that the government has against them are call logs, phone, telephone, Some of these items are repeated 2 or 3 times in the so-called proof of evidence. The truth of the matter is that the charges against the 11 protesters, just as the charges against the 114, including the children, are trumped up and false charges. We also call for the meeting of the demands of the August protest, especially regarding the reversal of fuel price hike, electricity tariff hike in food prices, as well as all anti-poor policies. On our own part, we are going to hold a peaceful rally on this day.
And welcome back. And before we went on a break, we had already told about the Solidarity for Freedom group as they advocate for freedom of all end-bad governance protesters from earlier on this year. And now to speak more on this, we're joined by Hassan Tai, member, organizing committee, End-Bad Governance Movement. Hassan Tai Soweto, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, we've seen this before, but I want to ask you this question. We know you have the answers. How do you plan to mobilize public support for the rally, especially judging from what happened the last time when you tried to bring people together for the EndSARS victims?
Well, we are hoping that this time around, the police would have learned its lesson and they would be more civil because the issues that is making us to come out this time around is a very important issue. We are marching to ensure that the Nigerian government does not sentence to death peaceful protesters. Adaramoye Michael Lenny and 10 others only protested against hunger and hardship. They did not commit any crime. Meanwhile, they are being charged for treason. The ultimate sentence for treason under Nigeria's law, the ultimate penalty, is a death sentence. So why we want to march out on Friday is to demand that, protesters, should not be charged for treason. Protest is not treason. And we are hopeful that Nigerian people will join us because you saw what happened last week Friday, the kind of solidarity across the country, across the world, that greeted, the arraignment of the children, who were sick, malnourished, and obviously mistreated while in detention. That global outrage is a sign that the Nigerian people, the global community of the working people, will never at any point in time fold their hands when the right of ordinary people are being trampled upon. And we are hopeful also this time around that that Nigerian people are going to rise up also to join us to demand that Adaramoye Michael Lenny and 10 others should be released. So we are very hopeful, but like I said earlier, we expect that the Nigerian police this time around will respect our right to freedom of lawful assembly. The Commissioner of Police in Lagos State has been appropriately notified of the procession that we want to have on Friday.
All right, now, Hassan, let's talk legal representation. Many applaud you for your stance and the movement, but what legal strategies are being pursued to challenge the charges against those still in detention?
Well, our lawyers, Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, Mr. Olumide Fusika, SAN, as well as several other, legal luminaries who are in the team of our legal defense, obviously, have a design strategy to ensure that they gain freedom for our comrades. I'm not a lawyer, so it means that there's very little I can say regarding that. But you have seen the kind of stout defense that our lawyers also put forward for the 114 who were released yesterday. That shows that very clearly our lawyers are actually up to the task. What is left for us to do as the Nigerian people is to ensure that we do everything to aid the job of our lawyers in court. While our lawyers are in court, trying to convince the judge why our comrades should not face this kind of sham trial, Nigerians marching on the street can help to further convince the state, that this is not a matter that can be treated the way they are treating it. So it's very important, that the Nigerian people actually come out on Friday at the protest, to demonstrate that solidarity with those who are standing trial.
And in addition to withdrawing the charges, what other actions do you believe the government should take to demonstrate accountability for the treatments that they had meted to these protesters and also the minors as well?
Yes, like we said earlier today at the press conference, we think that the release of the minors is not does not atone really for the physical and psychological damage that has been done to them. You know, they spent nearly 100 days in detention. They were brutally treated during the period they were in detention, and all of their rights, you know, are violated. The Child Rights Act, you know, of Nigeria was completely, you know, violated by the Nigerian police, you know, and the state during the period of the detention of these children. Their privacy was not respected. Their pictures and videos, you know, is there all over the internet, something which means that these children are likely going to be haunted for years to come by this experience. And that is why we are saying that beyond the release, the federal government must issue a public apology to these children. We also are demanding adequate compensation for these children. Also, the Nigerian government must ensure that there is a psychosocial evaluation and support for these children. Because even for adults, when adults are incarcerated, it causes a lot of damage to adults, let alone when children are incarcerated, you know, in our very terrible custodial centers. You know, you can imagine the kind of damage that has been done to them. So they need psychosocial support. They also need, you know, to go back to school. Their education must be supported. And most importantly is that, you know, the Nigerian state must also ensure that this is the last time that the right of Nigerian people to lawful assembly will be so trampled upon as we have seen in the last few months. Those are the things that we expect the government to do to ensure that the protesters who are currently standing trial today, who have gone through this ordeal, begin to, you know, have their hope in the country restored. Because the experience of everyone over the past few months is that we are slaves in our own country, and that we have a government, you know, which is it's actually a dictatorship, even though that government claims to have been elected. So it is very important, if President Tinubu wants to have a legacy that is positive, that he does everything to correct this kind of impression. And the way to do that, to start by releasing all of the protesters, withdraw charges against them, issue a public apology, and give adequate compensation for all of those, you know, who have suffered irreparable damage.
Hassan, Soweto, want to say thank you very much for joining us this evening on the news.
Thanks for having me.
Reactions have continued to trail the arrest and detection of the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 presidential election and immediate past governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, over alleged diversion of 1.3 trillion naira. The 1.3 trillion naira reportedly represents the 13% derivation fund from the Federation account between 2015 and 2023. Now, News Central's correspondent, Austin Azu, tells us more.
Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had on Monday arrested the former governor of Delta State and detained him at their facility in Port Harcourt over alleged diversion of 1.3 trillion naira, which represents 13% derivation fund from the Federation account between 2015 and 2023. In Asaba, the Delta State capital, mixed reactions have continued to trail the former governor's arrest.
Now, today we're talking about the year. I don't know if they arrest Okowa. What Okowa do now? Master of fraud now. What are going to arrest master of fraud?
No, not my first time to yesterday arrest Okowa. I beg who arrest Okowa, million bill and I beg. Okowa now our right man. He try for Asaba. At least he make Asaba look okay.
Yesterday I hear but that news to me, I think they don't know a political sabotage. They want to spoil his name because I know Okowa right from times.
Spokesperson for the Delta State chapter of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, a prominent human rights advocate and public affairs analyst, has described the former governor's arrest and detention as politically motivated.
Within the 8 years of Okowa's government, the total budget was roughly 3 trillion naira. You can't tell me he diverted 40-something% or misappropriated 40-something% of every money that came of the full budget. It's absurd.
Of course, this is a politically motivated investigation. We all know, even a brainless fowl knows that.
But the good news is they say a sinner man run it when no man pursue it. He says that Okowa did not run. He didn't run like Yaya Bello that has been taking shade with his the present governor of Kogi State.
But by and large, I will not subscribe to any act of wasting the people's fund. So it is left for EFCC to do a due diligence, and if he is found guilty, they cannot think of how to do prosecution.
According to Labour Party's National Vice Chairman for the Southside Zone, Tony Ezeagu, the EFCC's invitation to the former governor is a standard procedure for the anti-graft agency unless proven guilty by a competent court.
But whatever it is, we will want to wait, because I am sure that you know that Labour Party is not part of those who, discuss or talk anyhow. We want to talk and be sure of what we are saying. We want to be positive. So at the end of the day, we leave all the things in the hands of EFCC, who have opened it to do the needful.
After the 2023 general elections in Nigeria, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa has made history as the first immediate past governor from the South-South region to be probed by the EFCC over allegations of misappropriating public funds while in office. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
And still in Delta State, where some residents of Asaba, the state capital, have identified vandalism and theft of public school facilities as a big challenge confronting conducive learning for pupils and students of basic and secondary schools in the state. The state government calls for the assistance of communities in the protection and security of educational infrastructure in the state. Now, News Central's correspondent Austin Azu once again tells us more.
Recently, both public and private schools across Nigeria reopened for the 2024-2025 academic session. Parents and guardians always look forward to see their children and wards learn under a conducive atmosphere. Though, with Nigeria's worsening economy, obviously not all parents and guardians can afford to send their children and wards to private schools, hence the choice of public schools. One good quality about government primary and secondary schools remains the landmass and space for recreational activities for pupils and students. A visit to some government schools in Asaba and environs, one could see the high level of vandalization of these projects across board. Perhaps this viral video of school children sitting on the floor to learn has definitely revealed the impact of vandalization on public schools in the state. One of the security guards in one of the schools visited, and community youth leader told News Central crew how the vandals always gain entrance into the schools and those behind the vandalization.
2 back fence, they jump to enter.
The scavengers, they say they are pickers. I don't know what they are doing. They go around, they carrying back. They can walk from nowhere.
The headmistress of Women Affairs Primary School Asaba, other teachers, including parents, urged government to protect their facilities to guarantee conducive teaching and learning atmosphere for staff and pupils.
All the classes behind here has been vandalized. Even in my own class, if I open it, you go inside there. There's nothing to write home about. So we are waiting on government to come and do some renovations.
Our primary school here, Omebali Primary School, was vandalized days ago. I'm telling you the truth. Virtually everything. When the students resume school, they discover that there is nothing in that school again. Both the ceiling, both the windows and the chairs, security at that primary school, they are not even taken care of.
I remember when we were growing up, a lot of things were working. Then we have sanitary inspectors, you have security personnel manning all the public schools, you have PTAs.
Because those bad boys, they used to come at night and destroy things. So the government should help us, and the community too should help.
In response to the surge in project vandalism, the Delta State government appeals to community leaders and members to take ownership of government-funded infrastructure to advance targeted community development.
We also noticed that in communities, there are town halls, the other community properties, they are not vandalized. But anything that gets to do with government, from water, when I was Commissioner for Water Resources, the government will spend money to put water in a community. That is to the benefit of the community. They vandalize it because they don't see it as their own. They don't own it. So we also saw that if this community own these properties, they will not be vandalized.
So we must also take this position to say, no, this hospital, this school, we must protect it for the generation unborn that are coming.
Infrastructure development in Nigeria is frequently hindered by corruption and substandard execution, underscoring the necessity for stakeholders to guarantee secure implementation of projects within the purview. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Now, a man guns down kinsman for questioning his shooting spree. The details after the break. Welcome back. Now, tragedy struck recently in Umuahia, Abia State, southeast Nigeria, when one bright Odunze was shot dead by Ohukobe Ndume community by an elderly man, was shot in that community by an elderly man identified as Stephen Irobunda. The community was thrown into chaos on that fateful day, which coincided with the local government elections in the state. Now, News Central's Chinwe Ogele reports that the suspect has also been handed over to the police.
In front of me was the place where young children, young boys, about 5 of them, were playing soccer, being local government election day, so they had opportunity to play. Nwokocha Irobunda was said to have shot in the air to dislodge teenagers playing soccer around his home. One of the boys, Odinakachi Chinenye, who was among those playing soccer on that fateful day, narrates his experience.
The man saying I shift to labor because in an ababo. I know Kebara, Boyo Bensa, Vufte, Bayalilu. I was Babara Urumutan.
Bright Odunze, a civil servant working at Umuahia North Council and living in his maternal village at Umodum Ohukobendume, did not envisage that joining his peers to inquire from the 75-year-old Stephen Irobunda on why he released gunshots will be a journey of no return for him. The chairman of the Umodum Ohukobendume community, Chinedu Uzomba, who led the others to Irobunda, experienced the shooting firsthand.
Chief, he had Chiapuanuba. Ulega as well. Your body boy, but I've. Over the boy will have for 7. More Amarella or more the boy. The boy had that Bad Wokocha. Moving Yaka Russia, Bia. I agree. When you see Mula, Mera Paraja. Film my dodge. Yana Papia Bang, second son here, Chigozia, and a bang boss. When you know Zina, some chia, my some happy worker, Jomoto Keburia for. Maybe Pezia for area for after that.
A neighbor, Chinyere Ndumele, corroborates Uzomba's story.
Wabwana sika wenjo kone asia dede gini mere iko ba umaka ebe ngano na akobol yasala no la yadi ala akobol ladi wenye yansobu ka apara wololonga ye werebe ba
As the community unleashed physical attacks on the suspect, the victim was rushed to the Federal Medical Center in Umuahia, where he was confirmed and pronounced dead, while Irobunda was taken to the police, where the case was reported. By the following day on Sunday, his country home, which also housed tenants and his businesses, had been partly demolished by yet-to-be-identified persons as his family fled. As of Tuesday, when we returned to the site, what was left of the one-time accommodation, debris and emptiness. The village head, Dixon Uzomba, decries the alleged murder by his subject of a son they should protect.
Chineke akamuna ebo maka ihe orilo ọdala ọgbala lọnwụkwara atingo ahụga mom too much nke ọbụkwu spirit gị na bayro ima
The maternal family of the slain young man are asking for justice over the alleged murder of their nephew.
In fact, it was, I don't know how to recover from the shock and the loss, but the state has to do justice. It's a murder case.
The police public relations officer Maureen Chinaka has confirmed that the suspect is in police custody. There's yet one traditional rite that the community may still perform to appease the gods for the spilling of the blood of their daughter's son on Okowa soil. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugele.
The upcoming Lagos International Theatre Festival is set to celebrate the dynamic legacy of Nigerian and African theatre from November 14th to 17th, 2024, offering audiences a blend of 25 stage plays across 4 Lagos venues. The festival continues a rich history of Nigerian theatre, which has evolved from indigenous storytelling traditions and folk performances into a powerful cultural medium renowned worldwide.
Pioneers like Herbert Ogunde and Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka established Nigerian theatre's place in world literature and performing arts, bringing Nigeria's unique stories and traditions to the global stage. These strides made by literary historians have made Nigerian theatre an industry worth preserving. During a press briefing in Lagos for the upcoming Lagos International Theatre Festival, Bolanle Austin Peter, key organizer, shared her vision for the festival's growth.
The Lagos International Theatre Festival is going to start taking place by the grace of God in the National Arts Theatre from next year. This year, it was not possible. But going forward, we are going to make this the best theatre location in West Africa, in Africa, and in the world.
Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, attended the press conference and voiced his support for the festival, emphasizing the importance of theatre as a cultural pillar.
If we do get it well, is this industry that can help positively launder the image of our country? This is one unique opportunity that we have. This is one unique area that nobody will be able to compete with, will be leapfrogging.
The festival also received strong support from John Momo, who called for national backing of Nigeria's creative art sector.
All I want to urge you all is to try and give us the necessary support, be part of this. Let's make it happen. Let's make it epical. Let's let the world know that Nigeria can only be rescued, first and foremost, by the creative arts.
Representatives from key sponsors and stage directors also spoke, highlighting the festival's role in strengthening Nigeria's creative economy and encouraging further investments in the arts.
I think part of what we can do to sustain theatre as an industry is what we're doing now, and which is being championed by Mrs. Bolanle Austin Peters, is to be able to come together as a collective, to be able to move forward, because if we aren't seen as a collective, then nothing else would work.
Having the first Lagos International Theatre Festival happening this year, it could not have come at a better time. We are so happy to have it in Lagos. We're so happy to showcase the beauty of our creative landscape. We're so happy to show the talent that we have in our thespians, and we can only look forward to having an amazing 5 days.
As Lagos prepares to welcome artists and audiences from around the world, the festival promises to be a celebration of creativity, heritage, and cultural pride.
And now in the south of the continent, Mozambique's Defense Minister Cristóvão Chume has issued a stern warning that the military may intervene in post-election protests which have turned deadly continues across the country. Now, speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, Chume condemned the protests, stating they are sowing division, spreading hatred, and destroying infrastructure. He described the demonstrations as part of an attempt to destabilize the government. The minister's warning comes as opposition leader Venancio Mondlane calls for a large protest in the capital, Maputo, this Thursday, declaring it as a day of Mozambique's freedom. Welcome back. Today, the dollar is poised for its largest single-day increase against a major currency since March 2020, while Bitcoin has surged to an all-time high following Donald Trump's re-election as President of the United States. The victory was decisive, with Republicans also securing the Senate and making gains in the House of Representatives. Many analysts believe that Trump's fiscal, tariff and immigration policies are inflationary, which is expected to drive Treasury yields and in turn strengthen the dollar. On Market Pulse, Obada David, founder of Oris Tech, shared his insights during an interview with Frank Fagbo about specific local market sectors that could benefit from Trump's policies and his approach to international relations.
His first inaugural speech, so to say, and he mentioned something very paramount. He said that America has a lot of oil, much more than Russia, much more than China, and they're going to capitalize on that. But also, he's also making advancements in technology, and we see the support that Elon Musk had for Donald Trump. Essentially, they will see that oil plays a critical role in the stability. Every nation is strong based on the power of the resources and the power of the military. America has both of these things. Internationally, of course, we've also heard that there will now be tariffs and things like that going on into different sectors. But I know that oil and gas is a major strategy that they have in place, but also technology is also going to be forefront. Why I'm saying that is because the demand, even though they have a huge reserve of oil and gas, they're not watering down the impact of what EVs and electrifying the entire economy also mean on the grand scheme of things. So yes, it would have absolute ripple effects. Oil prices will see volatility across board, but eventually everything will stabilize. Stocks, aside from cryptocurrencies, we've seen how Tesla stocks pumped overnight.
The 6th Lagos Para Table Tennis Open is set to commence on Thursday at the Molade Okoya Thomas Hall of Teslim Balogun Stadium, Lagos, where players from the United Kingdom, Iran, Iraq, Cameroon, Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda, and host Nigeria will compete for top accolades. President of the Paralympic Committee of Nigeria, Sunday Odebode, was impressed by the significant growth in participation, with players from Europe, Asia, and Africa confirming their attendance. Tournament referee Asko Rusinen said over 30 players have been certified by classifiers, allowing them to kickstart their professional careers. Paris 2024 Paralympic Games bronze medalist Iswa Ogunkule, who will also participate the championship, described his experience in Paris as a turning point in his life and promised to retain his title in the men's class 5.
I hope that we will have a good competition. This is not the first time that the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation organized this event, so they already have the experience. And now we are in a new Paralympic cycle, so the expectation are to bring new players. We have already classified 26 new players, and who knows, maybe some of these new players are the future Paralympic champions.
Paralympic Committee, Chairman, Para Table Tennis Division.
Okay, the Lagos Valojet Paralympic Para Table Tennis Championship.
And that's all the news this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. World leaders have reacted after Donald Trump emerged as 47th President of the United States. President Bola Tinubu has postponed FEC meeting indefinitely following the death of Chief of Army Staff Taoreed Lagbaja. Mozambique's defense minister has threatened military intervention after days of post-election violence. Now, to remember, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.